Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Mercedes and this is the Frugal Life of Mercedes. Today is another front porch chat with you guys. And today I would like to talk about something called lifestyle creep. Now, some of you might have heard of this before, but lifestyle creep is basically the subconscious urge to spend more money or elevate your lifestyle because your income has risen. Now, I know that there's a lot going on with the economy and inflation and all that, but there are still people that are getting raises, there are still people that are becoming debt-free, and when I think of lifestyle creep, I don't just think because your income was raised. I also think about, let's say you just paid off your car, and so now you have an extra $250, $300, $400, whatever your car payment was. Then it's that urge to spend that money because you're used to that money leaving your bank account. Or even if you get a small raise. I was also thinking of an example. If you are used to living on your own and now you're in a situation where you live with someone, whether it be a roommate or a romantic partner, or whatever it might be. So if you're used to spending $1,000 a month on rent and you move somebody in, or you move in with somebody, as I said, romantic or unromantic, then you're paying $500 a month in rent. Well, there's still that subconscious urge to take that $500 and make it leave your bank account because you're used to it leaving your bank account. But I think that typically lifestyle creep is thought of when you have some sort of raise. But I also think about like bonuses and different things like that. If your job does that, if you get a bonus, for whatever reason, the urge is I worked really hard for that, or that's just extra money, so I'm going to go ahead and spend it on something. And there's nothing wrong with that, but when you're perpetually doing that and you're doing it every single time you have a bonus, every single time you have extra money, especially those of us that are in the debt-free community or on our way to debt freedom, wherever you might be. I know that what really helped me pay off my debt was, when I paid off the last of my student loans, I took that money and rolled it into my car. So then, do you know what I mean? So yes, that money was still leaving my bank account, but I wasn't using it to spend it on other things. I was using it towards debt. So a lot of extra money went into the student loans, and then all that extra money after the student loans were gone rolled into my car. And then once my car was paid off, the money from the student loans, the car, and all the extra debt payments went into my credit card. And people know that if you follow Dave Ramsey, and how he suggests paying debt, or if you do the snowball debt effect, it's all kind of the same concept. So since I've been debt free for a year, I take that money that I was putting towards debt and that goes into savings. And I talked about it in another video, but I have a part-time job, and the money from my part-time job goes straight into savings. It's a very small amount of money. Once a week I work a few hours, but I actually got a raise from my part-time job, I think sometime last year, and still that money goes into the bank. So basically it hits my checking account and I pretend like it didn't go there. Like the morning that it hits my bank account, goes into my savings account. And recently I got a raise at my full-time job, and it was a pretty good raise, I'm not gonna lie. But I remember that I was at a training and we were told that we were going to be getting a raise, and some people I was at training with were talking about like what they were gonna do with the raise and all that kind of stuff. And then it kind of came to me, and then I jokingly said, well, I'm gonna take that money, set it aside, get myself a big tattoo, and pretend like I didn't get a raise. And they were all laughing and all that. But in all honesty, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that money, pretend I did not get the raise, and put the difference straight into the savings account. So, lifestyle creep is important because it's subconscious, and so you might not even realize it. But some things to watch out for is, let's say you're used to working at a job where you're making $9 an hour, and you finish your degree and you're able to go get a job and you're making 20 whatever an hour. Now that's a big jump for you. So, then what people do is they get a bigger, better apartment. They get a bigger, better house, a bigger, better car, vacations, all that kind of stuff. And you want to be careful because you want to keep what your long-term financial goals are. You want to keep those in mind when you're making these decisions. And I know I've spoke before about, I think I spoke about it in an Instagram post. I don't know if I talked about it on here, but when I was married, the first apartment my ex-husband and I were going to get as a newly married couple, we went and looked at a couple of different apartments, and there was an apartment, I want to say it was like $850, $875 a month, which in my area is a good price. So it was like 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. It wasn't a fancy apartment at all, but the neighborhood was safe. The outside area was clean, well maintained. The inside of the apartment was clean and well maintained. So for me, that was like, okay. But he wanted to go and look at another apartment. So we went and looked at another apartment, and it was like $1,500 a month. Now, this was in a fancier part of town, and the apartment was a lot more fancy. And I think it was like 3-bedroom, 3 whole baths. It had a balcony, it had a fireplace, all those kinds of things. And he really wanted the apartment that was $1,500 a month. And I really wanted the apartment that was $875. And so I remember we were talking about it and discussing it, the pros and cons. And I told him, I said, we are in a position where we could pay less than $900 a month for an apartment. It's clean. The outside is clean. It's not in a bad part of town by any means. And I said, I just don't think that it wouldn't sit right with me to pay $1,500 a month in rent when there was the option of one that was, cheaper. Now, of course, I know for some people where you live, $1,500 a month in rent is a good price, or, because everybody, everywhere where they live, prices are different. But for me, if there's the option of the cheaper one and it's not dangerous, then I'm going to take that cheaper one. So I kind of showed him the pros and cons of it, and I was like, are we really going to use a fireplace? I was like, you don't even like the outdoors. I said, the person that would sit on the balcony would be me, and I'm telling you that, yeah, it'd be nice to have a balcony, but I don't want to pay $1,500 to sit on a balcony. And the cheaper apartment also had, it was 2 bedrooms and only 1 bathroom. And so he kind of had an issue with there only being 1 bathroom. And I was like, yeah, I understand that. I said, but we don't even need the 2nd bedroom. And where I live, there are no apartments that are 1 bedroom. You just can't find them. We don't even really have studio apartments where I live. So I told him, I said, so this other place has 3 bedrooms. So I said, that's 2 extra bedrooms. It's just you and I. And I was like, I don't see it. And so we discussed it and all that. And so, I think eventually he was like, okay, well, I can see that. I would, we would have more money. And the reason I tell you guys this story is because to him, we had 2 incomes. So that is lifestyle creep. If you're used to one income and you're used to your set income, and then you're adding another person, especially in a romantic situation, or even I use the example as a roommate situation, because even though you're not sharing money as roommates, you are splitting things, so you are going to have more money in your bank account, technically. So that was like an example of lifestyle creep that we stopped. But there's a million examples of that. It's like, I'm getting I got a raise, or I work at this other job, and all my coworkers drive really nice cars, and mine's just kind of and then it's like all of a sudden your perfectly good car, you're acting like it's a clunker, and it's not. And you have to also remember, like, you're not going to work to impress people. If you work in an office and you sit in your office or your cubicle or at your desk or whatever it is, what does it really matter if all the other people in the office are driving BMWs and you have, a Corolla or Ford or whatever it is? It's like you're doing your job right, you're coming in every day, you're, doing what you're supposed to do, you're put together well, you're competent. Does it really matter? At least to me, it does not. And even when it comes to clothes, it's like, oh, well, in the office and I'm using office as an example, but this could go for anything. Where I work, everybody dresses in designer clothes, so I need to wear designer clothes. No, you can dress nice and professional and appropriate to your job and to your position on a budget. And if you want that designer dress and it brings you joy and you can afford to do it, then do it. But do not buy that designer dress because you want to look good to your coworker or to people that don't really, these people. It's like, I'm not saying they don't matter, because we're all people and we all matter, but as far as like, they don't know your circumstances, they don't know your long-term financial goals, and I don't subscribe to that. And I feel like that's where a lot of the creep can come from, is seeing people maybe in a similar job as you or a similar age as you, and it's like, well, they have it, so I should. And I see that a lot. Like, as a millennial, I see that a lot, where it's like, oh, well, I'm 35. So when my parents were 35, they owned a home and they owned 2 nice cars and we went on several vacations every year. And it's like, but that was them and that's not you. So 1, you might not be able to afford to do that. 2, we don't know what the circumstances were surrounding those purchases. And would it bring you joy? Would it bring you joy to own a house before you're ready? Would it bring you joy to own multiple cars that you may or may not be able to afford? And to go on vacations maybe you can't. And so I think you really have to keep in mind, with lifestyle creep and just money in general, think about it before you do it, because it is subconscious, but because you see that extra money in your bank account, and so then it's like, oh, well, I've got it to spend. And yes, you do. And I'm not saying hold on to everything, but prioritize. The reason that I say it's the frugal life with Mercedes and not the cheapskate life with Mercedes is because frugality is all about putting your money where you value it. I don't like to travel. I honestly don't really have an interest in traveling all that much, and maybe that makes me boring or uncultured or whatever it is. But why am I going to travel when that really wouldn't bring me too much joy? It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But if travel is something that's very important to you, then spend the money on travel. Set the money aside. Plan that trip. Go on that trip. Live your best life. But look at your life and see, what stuff am I doing that I genuinely want to do, and what stuff am I doing because I think I'm supposed to do. Sorry about that, guys. My parents have chickens, and one of the roosters is trying to romance a couple of the chickens, so they get a little loud. But anyway, so what things are you doing that you genuinely want to do, and what things are you doing that you think you should do, or you think you've come to a certain age and you should be doing? And really evaluate that and decide what things are the most important to you. And to me, that's what frugality is about. I prioritize what's important to me. I have a car that's 8 years old. It's in awesome condition. I've maintained it well. And I've had people say, well, you know, you've had your car paid off for 2 years. Are you going to, you know, when are you going to get a new car? And I'm like, when I cannot drive this one anymore. That's just how I roll. I'm hoping that car lasts me 20 more years. Now, granted, I am a realist, so I know that that's the likelihood of that. But I don't value driving a brand new car with the best gadgets and all that. I've well maintained it. It's not a lemon by any means, and it still looks good, and the most important thing, it drives good. It gets me from A to B, and it's reliable. So I'm not going to get another car. And especially like in the dating world too, because I've talked about that too, like dating again after divorce, and it's like you meet men that have really nice cars, and then you come, you know, and my car is not unnice for any reason, but it's just a basic, you know, it's just a basic little car. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna go get another car to look a certain way to somebody. Do you know what I mean? So just keep lifestyle creep in mind, and you know, if you happen to get a raise or a bonus, or in a situation where maybe you've paid off some debt so you have a little extra money, or you're in a situation where maybe you're splitting the bills with somebody for some reason, think about what your long-term goals are, and think about how much of that money can go into savings. And you know, it's okay to elevate your lifestyle some. You know, like before I paid off debt, I didn't go out to eat at all. But now that I'm debt free, I take myself out to dinner occasionally, and to me that is a splurge. But you don't want to be going out to dinner every single night, you know. I mean, but if eating out is important to you, then that's something you have to prioritize, but then something else has to give. And so it's all about give and take. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing, and until next time, bye.